Alright guys, so in this video we're going to create a Ragdoll system from the physics control that we created in the previous videos. And actually we are not going to use any traditional methods, but we are going to do this everything from the physics control by itself. Okay, so for the first thing we need a project. So go to the games and select a third-person project. Once in the project, we're going to enable few things before we start doing anything. And one of those things is actually the plugin called Physics Control. So just search for it. Physics, oh my god. PHYS Physics Control. Click on yes and it will ask you to restart it. While it's restarting, going to install the physics component, and you can do so by going over to my coffee shop and downloading the physics control component. Just click on it, click on get now. There would be a email and stuff, and then you will be able to download the components. After you have downloaded them, they will look something like this, a zip folder. And once you open it up, you will have a setup guide inside it and a physics control system. So just drag the physics control system outside. And now we need to copy this folder directly in the Unreal Engine content folder. So go back to the all tab over here, right click on the content, show in Explorer, and then just copy this physics control folder to this. Okay, make sure that the components are right after the physics control and you are not actually copying this zip folder with the setup guide. Okay, so now that is done, we're going to open up Unreal Engine and open up the physics control component to see that yes, everything is connected, and if you hit compile, that everything compiles. After all of that is done, now we are going to open up our third-person blueprint. Inside the third-person blueprint, as you know, first we are going to create a key event from which we are going to actually launch the ragdolling. Okay, and then we're going to create another event called custom event, and we're going to name this and ragdoll. So you can call this and ragdoll whenever you want, and we're going to call this when we press 2. Okay, so when we press 2, we actually want to simulate something. Okay, over here we're going to search for set simulate all bodies. Okay, so go with this one, set all body below simulate physics. And in the board name, we're going to make a literal name, and then we're going to search for pelvis and set to new simulate. And also when we release it, we are going to end the ragdoll for now. Okay, and in the end ragdoll, going to have the same things, but we're not going to simulate them. It's just that simple. Okay, so the traditional way to doing the ragdolling is really this simple. You just add these two nodes to themselves and it should work. But there are a few things that we need to change inside the character before we can start simulating. Because as you can see, the capsule component can collide with the mesh, and the mesh is not actually colliding with anything, because if you go in the collision preset, you can see that, oh my god, not this. No, I'm not talking about it. Okay, so if we go to the custom, you can see that we are only inside the query physics collision and not actually in the physics collision. So this is the query collision and not the physics collision. So we're going to click on collision enabled query and physics, we're going to make it ignore the pawn. Okay, so we are doing this inside the mesh, and we're going to ignore the pawn. Now we're going to go to the capsule component, again make it custom, and this is actually going to ignore the physics body. Also make sure that your mesh, the skeletal mesh, is not a pawn but a physics body. Okay, once all of these things are done, you can start playing, and when you press 2 or whatever key you have pressed, it will simulate physics, and when you release it, it will not simulate physics. But as you can see right now, when we are disabling it from the simulation, it is laying down when she should be standing up. So how we can change that is by going inside the skeletal mesh physics component. Okay, so select the mesh, double click on this skm Quinn simple, and then click on this joint that you see on the corner. And if you click on this settings option over here, we can click on the show all button. We can choose the show all button, and now we can see the root. And as you can see, the root is standing all the way up, right? Like it's standing completely straight. But once we start the simulate, it moves. Okay, it's not even like attached to one point. It moves to other point, and it just follows the pelvis instead of sticking to itself and making the body follow it. Okay, so what we are going to do basically is we're going to add a shape here. By the way, many thanks to Shrinky for creating this video where he shows how you can actually fix this issue. So make sure that you go and watch his video if you want to actually do the ragdolling, but not with the physics control. Okay, so now we're going to go inside the shape that we just created, and then right click and say physics type to be kinematic. Once you do that, and now once you start to simulate and select your root bone, I mean the rotation is still a bit buggy, but if you check it again, the location is not changing anywhere. So the root bone itself is not moving and rotating. It's just the connection to the root bone that is changing. Okay, so we are now just going to save everything and save everything that you have opened up by Shift Control S. All right, then now if we try to simulate, she falls down. When we try to desimulate, she just snaps back to the position she just snapped back to the position she was in before. Okay. English is difficult. Now that I have showed you the traditional way of doing this, let me show you how you can do this with physics control. Okay, first of all, we're going to delete everything here, and now we're going to set up the physics control. So add physics control and physics component. And now before we do anything else, we have to fix few things inside, but we can do this later as well. So from the physics component, we're going to set few things. First of all, the physics control. Now to get it, we have to set it, set physics control. And the other thing that we need to set is to set skeletal mesh component. Okay, make sure to set these things inside the construction script. So get your physics control that you have just added and your mesh in this construction script. Then we're going to go inside the event graph and call for event begin play. Okay, and in here we're going to drag physics component and say initialize physics. All right, then now our character should start doing the physics. It should behave according to our physics control. Now open up your content browser and basically go to the physics control component, and now we are going to create few more functions, okay, few more custom events that will help us in simulation. Okay, so we're going to create a custom event which we call to be simulation, simulation, and this is going to have a input called wants to simulate. Okay, if it is on, okay, if it's true, then we want to simulate physics, and if we want to do the ragdolling, and if it's false, we don't want to do the ragdolling. Okay, so get from the wants to simulate, press B to get the branch, and then we're going to get the physics control, and we're going to set few things. So what we're basically going to do is create sets. Okay, we're going to create sets which contain all of the bone names and data about them, and then we're going to change them specifically around those sets. So we originally, if I will be able to show you, we originally have three types of sets. First, we have all, that contains all kind of sets in the world, all kinds of bone and their name. Then we have world sets. Okay, mind the right thing, but we have world sets, and then we have parent sets. So we have these three types of sets in the world. Okay, and we are going to use these sets to create those simulations, those ragdolls. Okay, so if I were to tell you guys what they really are, how I can show you is basically the world creates affects the player. Okay, so it will affect our skeleton depending upon the world. Okay, so world has a influence on the player when we are using the world controls. When we are using parent control, basically the parent bone, so let's say that this hand is controlled by this arm. Okay, world have nothing to do with this. It's just that this arm is basically dangling along the clavicle, and then the clavicle is dangling on the spine, and the spine is dangling on the pelvis, and the pelvis is dangling around the root, so something like this. Okay, so parent is basically bones are getting influenced by their parent bone. That's what it is about. So in the parent there is nothing about the world, and all is basically everything around it, parent, world, everything. Okay, so now what we're going to do in the physics control, we're going to search for set modifier movement, this one, set body modifiers in set movement type. Yeah, so now you just have to add a set to it. We're going to call it all. As you can see over here, we're going to use the all. So we're going to set we're going to name the set all because we want to change everything, every bone in the body to be simulated. Okay, and then we want to again get from the physics control, and now I'm going to say set control enabled, set controls in set enabled. Okay, and it's going to be twice, called twice. One set is now going to be called world, and one set is going to be called parent. Oh, by the way, this is not just world, this is going to be world space. Again, parent space. Okay, once we have done that, now we can basically disable one, enable one, disable one, enable another one. Okay, so this is how we're going to change between simulation, ragdoll, and a character simulating a character being simulated by the body, okay, by the physics control. All right, that was the first thing. This is about when we want to simulate. What about when we don't want to simulate? We're going to select all of these things again, duplicate them, and put them on false. Now, even in this one, we're going to keep everything simulated, but we want to have one extra thing, is that we want our feet to not be simulated, right? We want our feet to follow kinematically the animations that we have. So for that, we have to make a set of the feet so that we can use that set in this way, right? So go to this node which we created in initializing physics, and under the completion of this node, we're going to drag and say set controls, no, set modifier, set body modifier, add body modifier. Okay, you you need a physics control. Add body modifier to set, or body modifiers to set. So on the completion, we're going to run this node which says you can add certain body modifiers to the set, and we're going to add these two body modifier to a set called feet. Okay, just feet, nothing else, just feet. Now what we're going to do before we enable anything, we're going to duplicate this, set the physics control, and in the set we're going to call for feet, and it's going to be kinematic. Okay, and also enable the world space and disable the parent space, and that's it. That's the only thing we need to actually simulate and desimulate. But there is one more thing that you don't really have to change if you're using this physics component, because I will update it, but just check, okay, just double check the, go inside the limb setup data, open it up, and open the index 5 where you will see the spine 2, and make sure that the include parent bone is ticked. Okay, so it should be enabled so that we will be able to access pelvis. Without it, we will never be able to have access to the pelvis, and your character will be ragdolled, but your pelvis won't be, so it's like dangling. But the pelvis is where your animation wanted to be, so it's kind of a weird effect. You can go with it if you want to, but make sure that you enable the physics bone, parent bone. All right, so now most of the things are done. I'm going to go back to our third person character, go inside the second, and now we're going to get the physics component and run the command, which is simulation. Yeah, and we want to tick it, and after a delay, we're going to run the end ragdoll, which is going to have the same thing but turned off, and delay is going to be 5 seconds. So right now, if you will see, okay, so the capsule is too big. So now that you can see that we are simulating, we are using the physics control, and now if we press 2, we're going to fall down, fall down, fall down. Okay, we did. And then it snaps back. We won't be, we are going to disclose the movement, so you will not see this happening. Basically, this running animation, you will not see that because we are going to stop the movement. Let me just do it right now, so we don't have to see this weird dangling. So on the 2, when we are setting the simulation, before we delay it, we're going to set ragdolling. So we're going to have a boolean value, which we're going to set over here, and it's going to be true. And then we're going to have another one, which is called can move. Okay. And we're going to use this one. Oh my god, why? I'm going to use this one to be able to move and not move. Compile, and the default value of this is going to be true. Make sure of that. All right, and in the end ragdoll, we're going to turn this to be true, and ragdolling over here actually to be false. Okay, so this is how the event graph looks like. I will show you everything later, but this is mostly how it looks like. Now we can go to the move option, create a branch, and put the can move here. Similarly over here, branch, can move, and move all of these nodes inside the command. All right. So once you have something like this, as you can see, our character cannot move, but we can look around, and the animation is not playing anymore. Okay, so now what we're going to do is actually send our character. Okay, so when we are falling down, we actually want this character to, like, we want our actor to follow that mesh wherever it is going. So what we're going to do is call for event tick, and inside event tick we're going to again create a branch which is going to use the ragdolling. Okay, and inside the ragdolling we're going to set true and false. By the way, this delay is a really bad thing. Let's say that you're falling down a cliff and it is actually longer than 5 seconds, so it should not be this way. You should have it by the velocity, so when your character actually stops moving, you will able to regain from the ragdoll. Okay, so make sure to make that kind of arrangement. If I have time, I will also make that, but for now just keep that in mind. So now in the event tick, we're going to, inside the true, set actor location and rotation. Yeah, and we're going to get our mesh, and from here we're going to get socket transform. Okay, and the socket name is going to be pelvis. Now break this split struct, and now we're going to get the location. Well, we can actually put the location, but it's going to actually go down the ground, because if you go to the viewport, you will see that our character is almost -90 on the z-axis. Okay, and why is that? Because if you redo everything, and if you remember, whenever we try to add a mesh to a empty character actor, it always snaps to this, and we have to like drag it down, then rotate it 90 degrees, right? So that's basically what we are doing over here as well. Make sure that this is -90, not 80. Okay, so now we are basically going to add that much difference here. So drag from here, call for add, and add 90 on the Z. That's it. Add this to the new location, and then break the new rotation. Let me just drag this up so we can see rightly. And we also drag from here, and we're going to call for break rotator, and we're going to attach this Z value to this new Z value. Compile, save everything, and boom. Now our actor is following our character, and now once it comes back, it will not like snap back to some unworldly, unrealistic position. Okay, one more thing, you can go to the camera boom and actually enable the camera lag to smooth out the transition to going towards the mesh of your body mesh. Okay, now all of those things are done. Now we're going to start working. Wait a minute, ragdolling is done. If you want just ragdolling and getting up, it's basically done. We don't have to worry about anything else. By the way, one more thing we have to add inside the physics component. Okay, I'm just telling you guys to do this if you are not using the latest one and you are just updating the one that you have before. So you don't have to worry about like going back and installing it again. So get your physics control, and once you have set it the world space and parent space, we are also going to set the gravity. To set gravity, gravit, so set gravity modifier in set gravity multiplier. Okay, and it's going to happen for all. When we are doing the parent space, the gravity is going to be 1, and when we are doing the world space, the gravity is going to be 0. So just make sure of that. Until and unless you want your character to behave in certain weight, then you can increase this weight to your liking. Okay, so that much is done. Now we are going to work on actually getting up. Okay, so if you already know how to add the animation of getting up, this is complete for you. You can just go and do your work. But if you want to see how to add the animations, let's see that. I actually have the ALS getting up and getting up animations. You can use any other animations that you like. I'm just going to use them because they are easy to use, very well designed. Now we are going to go inside here, make a new folder called animations. Double click and drag these two here. Select a skeleton. I'm going to select escape because this is according to them. Make sure that you select a correct skeleton, and if you want to know how to retarget to other skeletons, you can watch this video over here to know all about it. Now we're going to not do anything in with these animations. We're going to just right click and make it a animation montage. Save everything. And now we're going to right click, asset actions, edit selection in property matrix. And now we're going to change few settings. Like if you go to the blend option in the blend in mode, okay, we cannot then go to the blend in both of them. Okay, select the linear and select hermit cubic in out. So this option. Okay, so make sure that you select this in both of them and make sure that the star appear in both of the animations, and then control shift S to save everything. And now we can close this matrix. That's the only thing that we need to change in the montages. Now we are setting off the simulation, but as you know, once we have set off the simulation, it's not going to do anything else. So what we want to do is we want to do this in a sequence. Okay, simulation first, and then we're going to play a montage. Okay, the skeleton mesh component is going to be our mesh, and the montage to play is going to be one of these. We're going to create a selection just in a bit, but that's mostly it. And now if we try to test it, you can see we fall down, then we play animation, and then we get back up. Okay, all right, now one thing that you have noticed, if we fall down, let me simulate, if you fall down on our head, then we get up in the direction that our character should be in, right? But if we fall on our back, okay, so we are actually facing the sky, we actually rotate completely and then stand up. Now this is the problem that again Frinky solved amazingly, so again watch his video, completely recommend that. And the easiest way to fix that is by getting this x value. Now if this x value is less than 0, okay, so if it is less than 0, let me show you. Actually, we're going to get a print string and attach this to here. So now if we press 2, you can see that when we are facing downwards, the ground, it says false, but when we are facing upward, it says true. So basically we have this transition between which way we are facing just by a Boolean value that we get from a x rotation. Okay, and we are going to fix this by, firstly we're going to fix the rotation by here. So get the new rotation, get select float, and select it by this x value. Okay, all right, A means true, B means false. B means we are falling down, we don't have to do anything, just add the z value. But whereas A means that we need to add or subtract 180 degree to make the change. So we're going to add 180 degree, and that will be our A value. And after this, we're going to drag from here and actually promote this to a variable called is facing up. Okay, and attach it over here. Now we're going to go back to our play montage, and we are going to select a specific montage depending on which way we are facing, right? So drag from here and again select, and in the wildcard just add your is facing up again. Okay, so is facing up. Is it true? Are we facing up? That means we're going to get up from the back. Are we facing down? We're going to get up from the front. And that's it. That's our ragdolling system in its entirety. You can do some more tweaking. You can make it much more fluid, I would say. And yeah, you can do much more things here. But this is the base value, that this is the foundation of the physics control creating ragdolling, okay, in your any kind of project that you're doing. So that's it. Hope you had fun. I know I did. Whatever. I've been doing this for like the whole day right now, and it was hell, like how much it just didn't want it to, like, right now it looks so easy when I did it, and it even looked easy for myself, because look at this, only 3 nodes, like these 3 nodes and some nodes inside the physics component, like and yeah, that is the conclusion of the ragdolling. So if you guys want to watch how to reanimate the sequence, or do the retargeting of an animation, or if you want to know how to actually set up this physics control and what it really is, then you can watch other videos of mine doing transition to other videos, being a YouTuber right now. Launching LAU and CH simulate Ragdoll. Other one is tick, which is going to be called event tick. And those are the nodes. Hope you have the understanding of it, and if you want to, this physics component will be updated on my coffee shop. Yeah, I'm not updating the Gumroad page anymore, so all of this component you will find in the description. You will have the link to my coffee shop, and I will update them over there, and you will have like setup guides in them and all kinds of stuff. So just putting it out there. And if you have any more questions, or if you have any more suggestions about the tutorials, then you can just put in the comments, and I'm right here to hear them. And also big thanks to Game Dev Devon for suggesting this tutorial, and yeah, it was really nice, and for sure I'm going to use this in my own game, and I hope you will do too. Okay, that was it for the video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.